What's up? It's Film Frenzy, and I was lucky enough to see a movie over a month early. I'm talking about Second Act, the new Jennifer Lopez dramedy. So today I'll be revealing my opinions on the movie, starting with my first category, direction and visuals. Direction and visuals is always a very strange category to do when you're dealing with movies that are romantic comedies or dramedies. This one is labeled as romantic comedy. I just want to address that I do not think that's the case at all. The romance is very like secondary or tertiary. The primary focus is more about the drama and like the workplace and with some other family issues that we'll address later. So anyway, for direction and visuals, this film definitely has a lot of mishaps, but overall is not bad at all. So I'll address the mishaps first. So first off, this director seems to have some fascination with shoe shots. In the first half of the movie especially, there was like so many. It felt like every time she goes outside or just like changes location, there was like close-ups of like the heels or whatever she was wearing. It was very weird. I don't know why he was like so obsessed with showing like the shoe shots of like Jennifer Lopez walking. Very odd. Whatever. Anyway, like every romantic comedy feels like they just show shots in New York City, like the same exact shots. They could have been literally just taken from, I don't know, like Cain Leopold, um, Serendipity. I don't know why these are the first romantic comedies coming to my head from New York, but they are, and there's tons of other ones. And the trope of like New York being like the fifth character or whatever, it's kind of true in this movie. I feel like it's just in it a lot, and there's so many like pretty shots of New York that are like just very generic, and I feel like you just don't need a show in every single like romantic comedy type movie. And then additionally, there are kind of these moments that are very goofy. It kind of reminds me of like some the Gary Marshall films where it seems like they're just like this kind of like fetish with like people like falling in, kind of like silly physical humor that feels like it's more for like I don't know, like 4-year-olds and stuff. Like there's multiple instances of people falling and doing just goofy things, and I feel like that was very odd direction. But other than that, like those are very. I mean, it sounds like a lot of bad. Those are very specific instances. Overall, the direction is fine. It is not bad at all, and the visuals sometimes actually have very good shots. So for this category, I'm giving a pretty solid score of a 3.5 out of 5. Next category to discuss is acting and character development. For acting character development, this time I will be doing the good first. And this is really a half and half category, so the acting is very good in this movie actually. I'm always very just impressed with Jennifer Lopez's acting ability, and it continues with this film. I think she's very likable throughout, and she portrays a lot of different levels. She always is great. She has just very good like chemistry with all of her co-stars. She's a very impressive actress, and I think she's great with this film. I just wish she picked a better movie. Anyway, then there's also Vanessa Hudgens, who does a very good job with her character. I think she has a great character also. Treat Williams, who plays Vanessa Hudgens' father, and he's the like the CEO of FNC, which is like the big like makeup company that Jennifer Lopez ends up working for. I thought he was great too. Those three were like the main like characters. I thought they were very well established and developed, and I was very impressed. And they all did great. They're really like seasoned actors. So was Milo Ventimiglia, who's a great actor. Obviously, like, people know him from This Is Us. He was also in Rocky Balboa. Um, I just wish his character was a little bit more developed throughout. I thought he was gonna have a bigger role, but he didn't. But he was still very good throughout. The problem in this category, though, lies with the side characters. Oh, the side characters. Why couldn't it just be five main people? And New York. Just kidding. No, New York. We don't need those extra shots. Anyway, Jennifer Lopez's friends are literally the most annoying characters ever. Like, I just wanted them all out of the movie. Her main friend was crazy annoying and dislikable. The other ones were too. They were just. Oh my god. It was mostly the writing. The actors weren't like that bad. They were probably directed also to go over the top. So the writing and directing combination just made for some terrible character development. Just like purely just one level characters that are very simplistic and just completely annoying. Terrible jokes throughout. They didn't even have any good jokes, those characters. They're so annoying. The little kid that's like Jennifer Lopez's best friend's kid, he was just terribly annoying. I just wanted him out of the movie again. So there are a lot of terrible characters in this film. A couple other annoying ones. There's too many to mention, to be honest. And there's a couple other side characters that are decent. So, unfortunately, I feel like the side characters really just kind of balance out the main ones. Like the main characters are great and that's really good for a film, but the side characters are so damn bad that I have to give this category only a 2.5 out of 5. Solid acting, some good character development, but some god awful character development. My final category concerns the story elements, plot pacing, script, and theme. Will the downward trend continue? Yes, yes it will. This category is not very good. This is my favorite category. I think it's the most important in a film to have just a solid story. That's the foundation. This doesn't do it too well. So plot. That's like just the true laying the bricks, right? And I found it very predictable. I mean, going to this movie, what I expected was kind of a very just generic romantic comedy. It was kind of predictable, but unfortunately, I think this is a little bit worse. So yes, it is predictable though, not a good thing. Like there is a big twist, which I have to admit, but it was heavily hinted at, and it felt very contrived, which is another thing in this movie I'll get to in a second with the plot. But the movie just was very predictable. I kind of knew how it was gonna end, and it just felt just cliche after cliche. Not just the shots of New York, but just like every single like just dramedy trope, and like there's a big secret in the plot. And I feel like that's something that's in a lot of like romantic comedies or just like romantic dramas or dramedies in general of like this type. And I thought it was just very cliche. I feel like I've seen this movie before, but like better versions of it. It's okay if you use an old formula, but you have to do something good with it. You can't just like turn it into the worst possible thing of the formula. Anyway, getting back to the contrived plot, there is the big secret that's very contrived. I'm not gonna spoil it here because the movie hasn't come out yet. But there's also this thing with like the plant, which is like happens to be like the cure for, or like the primary ingredient for making this new makeup, and the plant happens to be the perfect one that Jennifer Lopez has, and it was just very contrived and felt like, oh, this just happens to perfectly work out. Felt very unrealistic. I hate movies that feel contrived, and this was surely one of the most contrived movies I've ever seen, actually. Then for pacing, this is actually surprisingly really good. I was very impressed with the editing for the film, from like transitions to also just like keeping a pace throughout. I thought it was really good, like especially for like a bad movie because there's a lot of good movies with some bad editing that ruin it. Anyway, script is up next, and this is a really rough script. So interesting enough, though, I felt like it got really funny like in the second act. Ironically, right? It's the name of the second act. Anyway, most movies' second act is like the worst act. That's where it lags a little bit. But I thought this was the best act of the movie. The first act is just awful. It really focuses. There's a lot of like just that cheesy dialogue with terrible jokes. Literally about maybe like 0.5% actually hit, and it largely had to do with those terrible side characters I talked about earlier. And it was just very annoying. It felt very preachy with a theme, which I'll talk about in a second. But the first act felt like I had a lot of preachy theme on like the street smarts being like more important than the book smarts, like a Harvard education or whatever. And yes, it's true, but it just felt so over the top. That first act was really bad. The second act, then all of a sudden, it's like a new writer came in. It got really funny. Most of the jokes started hitting. I got really enjoying it. Like it just became kind of more just like a like light movie that was just very enjoyable to watch. But what typically happens with dramedies is the third act is like the big drama, so the comedy kind of tapers off, and that's fine. But since this movie's dialogue with drama was mostly not very good, it felt very just like not authentic and kind of cheesy, like I touched upon earlier. So the third act became kind of rough too, and the few jokes that were in the third act I felt like weren't very good at all. But I did appreciate in the theme that like it wasn't just about the street smarts thing like I thought it would. There was a big theme on like trust and stuff and the truth with like the secret I mentioned earlier. And I thought it was very relatable, but I feel like it didn't address the theme the best way possible. It was very over the top and wasn't as clever and metaphorical as it could have been. Anyway, that kind of wraps up that category. So, as you could tell, it was very negatively trending besides like having a decent theme and very good pacing and kind of a good second act. So, I'm giving it 1.5 out of 5 for that category. I know, really rough, not a good story. The plot is just so bad. Anyway, that brings me to my overall score. So, let's recap for a second. This movie has decent direction of visuals, though there's like some very poor things here and there, and some very just generic shots in New York that I keep on talking about for some reason because I really hate that. And then there's a ton of bad side characters, but some very good lead characters, and overall a very solid acting performance. And then there's a terrible plot, good pacing, usually a really terrible script, and decent themes that aren't well used. So what does that mean? That means a 2 out of 5. That's a thumbs down from me, but in all honesty, you might enjoy this film. It's gonna come out near Christmas time. I feel like it's gonna be a feel good movie that lots of people will enjoy. I was looking at it from a critical lens, and I didn't think it lived up at all. I had mediocre expectations for the film, but sadly it failed to deliver even those. Anyway, curious to hear your opinions when the movie comes out. So thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more awesome movie videos from Film Frenzy. See you guys later.